Dia dit, agus fáilte go dtí Terra Incogweirdo mo charges. Hello and welcome to Terra Incogweirdo, my friends, and today is October 31st, so Oíche Shamhna Shona Duit. Happy Halloween to you. And Halloween traditionally sounds like there's a crow outside, but it's actually a blue jay pretending to be a crow. Halloween is traditionally a day of prognostication in the Celtic spirituality. So I will be doing a reading about our coming year in general for the world and what we can expect. But before I do that, I want to read a little bit to you about the origins of Samhain from the Celtic Book of the Days by Caitlin Matthews. Now, this book is amazing, and I've had it for 20 years, and it gives you an entry for every single day of the year, okay? And because October 31st, which we know as Halloween, is actually the last day of the Celtic year, I have to go all the way to the back of the book to read the entry for October 31st, because it is in fact the last entry in this book. Now I will also read you the entry for November 1st. Now, interestingly enough, when you say Samhain and you think you're saying Halloween, the actual meaning of the word Samhain is November. So Oíche Shamhna is the term that Irish people use to mean Halloween, and it literally translates to the eve of November or November's night, okay? So here is the entry for October 31st from the Book of the Days by Caitlin Matthews, and I would highly recommend you get a copy of this book because it kicks butt. Okay. The Morrigan is the Irish goddess of renewal. Although she is more frequently called the goddess of the battle, her role is more subtle than this. The Morrigan is a triple aspect goddess comprising Nevin, Mav, and Macha. She often appears as a crow over battlefields, scavenging the slain. Okay. Now, before I give you the rest of this story, okay, we're going to be talking about the severed head of the Munster warrior, Fóichead Canana. Okay, now, just so you know, there's a lot of severed heads talking in Irish mythology. It's a thing. It happens over and over again. And so this story goes, okay, there's a famous and infamous band of warriors known as the Fianna, and they show up in a lot of the really old cycles of Irish mythology surrounding the great warrior Finn MacCool, which you may have heard of. He's pretty awesome. He's pretty cool, Finn MacCool. And so go ahead and read about him, because there's many amazing stories about Finn. But this story involves Fóichead Canada, okay, Canada, and I'm going to take my note because it's I don't want to get it mixed up. So Fóichead was the chief of the Fianna in Connacht, and he fell in love with the wife of the chief of the Munster Fianna named Ailill Flann Beck, okay? And so they eloped, and you know, what do you know, but Ailill followed them and fought against Fóichead, okay? And oh, woe is Fóichead. His Fóichead lost his head. Okay? Fóichead Canada lost his head to Ailill, and in mourning, the wife of Ailill picked up Fóichead's head, and here is what that severed head had to say. The severed head of the Munster warrior Fóichead Canada speaks of the Morrigan thusly. About us on this field are the bloody horrors of battle. Unspeakable are the guts that the Morrigan is washing. She has descended on as a gloomy guest, hurling us into the fray. She washes her many spoils, laughing her dreadful twisted laughter. She has thrown back her mane. The heart in my former shape hates her. And I think we just had an appearance by the kitty cat Science. He's our new kitty. Yeah. And he is settling in well, as you can see. Okay, so that story, what did I want to tell you about that story? I think I told you everything about that story, and that I have a bunch of notes here so I don't mix things up. But that is, the Morrigan is, there is a bit about why we would talk about the Morrigan on Samhain. However, she is also concerned with sexuality and fertility. She meets with the Dagda, and that Dagda is the chief god of the Tuatha De Danann, which you can check out my other videos. I have a nice long video about the Tuatha De Danann and whether they were fact or fiction. So the Dagda, the chief of the Tuatha De Danann and the chief of the gods, on Samhain Eve meets with the Morrigan at the ford. And by the ford, the old story talks about them initially meeting at the river Ennis, where they lay together, and the Morrigan gives him prophecy that helps the Tuatha to defeat the Fomorians at the Second Battle of Moytora. Okay, their meeting marks the coming together of the great formative powers of the Celtic world. Since the end of the summer half of the year also marks the ending of the campaign season, when the Morrigan comes to mate with the Dagda, she lays aside her warring side, and with the father of the gods prepares the land for the germination and preparation of winter. So this story has been woven into the yearly cycle of Celtic spirituality. The Morrigan is associated with the Sheila na gig, a common figure found carved usually over the western entrance to churches. By the way, back in the time when Catholicism was first introduced to Ireland, they carved the Sheila na gig over the western side of the churches. It's not always on the western side, but often, and that's where the pagans would enter the church, under the symbol of the Sheila na gig. She is usually shown as a hag with a gaping, mocking, or smiling face, and with both hands opening her distended vulva. Yes, indeed, it is quite a sight, people. The Sheila represents the womb and tomb of life, the essential thresholds between the worlds. So the womb and the birth process is a transition from one type of life to another. It's a liminal space. Now the doors between the worlds are open, once again, as we gather to celebrate Samhain, the end of the summer, and to welcome the ancestral wisdom once again in the embrace of winter. So today is a time of the year, and you've probably heard this before, when the veil is thin and the ancestors, the spirits of the dead, and the fairy can commingle together. All right. Now this gives rise to many of the traditions that we follow today in Halloween. Okay. So for instance, the pagans would wear costumes so that the spirits of the dead wouldn't follow them home, right? They wouldn't know who they were, and they wouldn't follow them home. So that's the origin of wearing costumes on Halloween as well. The people in Ireland specifically would carve turnips. They didn't have pumpkins. They would carve turnips and potatoes in scary faces again and put them out in front of their house to ward off evil spirits and malign spirits of ancestors, okay? As well, they would leave food offerings out for the kindly spirits of their ancestors. So that's one of the practices that led to trick-or-treating, and we're about to hear about another of them, but that happens in November. So we have to go to the beginning of the book. We'll read about Samhain in the grip of winter, in winter's grip. Okay, a lot of these illustrations come from the Book of the Kells, which is an illuminated manuscript that can be found in Trinity College in Dublin, and they, I think like every week or so, they change the page so you can see different pages. Samhain in winter's grip. Samhain marks the Celtic New Year as the winter season begins. This may seem a strange season to begin the new year, but as the days draw darker, shorter, and colder, as the trees become bare and leafless, the agricultural year is at its close and at its beginning. The growth cycle begins in the darkest depths of winter, when the cold forces seeds to germinate in preparation for their springtime emergence. Although all seems dead, life rests and waits for the returning of the light. The period of Samhain is a good time for introspection, giving space for personal perspective and reflection. Okay, so the entry in the Celtic Book of the Days for November 1st reads thusly. The festival of Samhain began the winter half of the year. It was believed that the Cailleach, the aspect of the goddess who appeared as an old woman, hit the ground with her hammer, making it iron hard until Imbolc. Okay, so Imbolc is March 22nd, 21st, 22nd, the spring solstice in the northern hemisphere. On Samhain night, so that's October 31st into the morning of November 1st, the gates of the other world were open, allowing communion with the ancestors. In the Christian era, the festival was reassigned to the Feast of All Saints. However, many of the customs surrounding the modern Halloween, the Eve of All Hallows or All Saints' Day, still concern this ancient understanding of the accessibility of the dead at this time. So, people, again, the veil is thin. The ancestors were respected as the repository of lore and wisdom. Many Celtic tales speak of the dead returning to speak to their descendants in order to impart knowledge or to restore memory of ancient customs and stories. How freaking awesome is that? The feasts of both Samhain and Beltane, Beltane takes place on May 1st, were considered to be outside the boundaries of normal activities. When supernatural events take place, the barriers between humans, ancestors, gods, and fairies are overthrown, and they can visit each other's realms. The modern festival of Halloween, All Saints' Eve, derives from the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. Okay, so Ween, the word ween, did you know that means Eve? Okay, you Ween fans out there, Ween is an amazing, really funny band. If you like bands with a sense of humor that are amazing musicians, listen to some Ween. And actually, yesterday I was listening to the song Roses Are Free, which has a line in it that something about carve out your pumpkin because it'll show your destiny, or throw the pumpkin at the tree unless you think this pumpkin holds your destiny, right? Okay, so anyway, listen to Ween, good times. So let's go on to November 2nd, because this is the tie-in to trick-or-treating, okay? So November 2nd was the day where, here, I'll just read it to you. The custom of soul caking, SOUL-CAKING, where children go round the village to beg for cakes in return for praying for the souls of the departed, was still done in Cheshire, England, up to the 19th century. This was a vestige of the Feast of All Souls, when prayers for the dead were said, and more anciently, of the respect and remembrance of the ancestors. A mumming or soul playing still circulates in Cheshire, accompanied by a hobby horse. This horse is one of the many which circulate several regions of Britain and Ireland during the winter months, a distant reminder of the winter mare aspect of the Cailleach, and that's mare, M-A-R-E, and here's a drawing of the hobby horse. Okay. All right, so get yourself a copy of the Celtic Book of the Days because it's simply awesome. Okay. And I think you will enjoy. All right, so that's a little bit about the history of Halloween. And I have my own tradition for Halloween, and that involves my humongous dictionary, which is hiding at the moment. I take out this dictionary that's thousands of pages long. I mean, the thing is literally this big. And I pick a word for the year. So if you are looking for a new Halloween tradition, take out your dictionary and randomly select a word, and that is the word that will typify your year. Okay? But in honor of Tarot, Incogweirdo, our beloved tarot deck, love you, we're going to do a reading to just give us a sort of hopefully light-hearted look about what the year is going to bring from November 1st, 2025 to October 31st, 2026. What will the year bring for us as humans here on this earth? Now, there's a lot going on in the world today, kids, is there not? All over the world, and many things going on in America and all over the world. And also there is a large rock object, which I believe, what is it, Atlas, I can't think of, Atlas something, which is, I think it's behind the sun right now, but some people think it's a spaceship. Okay, so who knows? Maybe this is the year that we get to meet extraterrestrials. Let's find out. Cards, please tell my beautiful Incogweirdo audience what is gonna go down this year between this last day of the year, October 31st, 2025, Samhain, until November 1st of next year. Well, I think I said it the other way around last time, but I'm dyslexic, so I'm allowed. Okay, so here we go. What is going to happen for the world for the next year? Okay, now this is the day that this is my New Year's Eve. I don't celebrate New Year's Eve on December 31st into January 1st. I celebrate it tonight. This is my New Year's Eve. Okay, so what's going to happen? Nature of the question. It's up in the air. What's going to happen? What's the news? The air always encompasses the news and the chitter-chatter out there in the land. Okay, my reason for asking is fire, because I'm full of creativity and I want to know. And this is also indicates, hi, Biscuit. Can you say hi? Where are you? Where there you are. Biscuit wants to say hello. Biscuit, happy Biscuit New Year. Happy Halloween. Oíche Shamhna Shona Duit, Biscuit. Okay, I'll be done in a minute. I promise. I'll take you outside. Okay. So Halloween is a high fire festival. Okay, so we are extinguishing the flame of last year, and we are beginning the fire for the next year. And that's another thing that the pagans used to do. As a fire festival on October 31st, you would extinguish the fire in your hearth in your home, and after the festival of Samhain was over, you would take one of the embers from the fire home with you, and you would reignite your fire for the coming year. Okay, All right, reason for asking. Factors to be considered. What can the world expect this year? Uh-oh, trouble. Who knew, right? Problems on every level. I'm not going to point any fingers, but I think you all have plenty of places to point your fingers. My husband and I were joking around yesterday, and he goes, and I was pointing at him, and he goes, when you point at somebody, you have 4 fingers pointing back at you. Well, really, you have 3, but so the next time I pointed at him, I went like this, and I pointed at him with all my fingers, and I was like, look, none of them are pointing back to me. All right, this is all on you. All right, so guess what? We're going to have trouble worldwide this year. And seriously, folks, I mean, were you I was expecting it. I was totally expecting it. Okay, solution, advice, or comment given. Yes, please. Please give us a solution. Oh, okay. So, Thoth. Thoth is the card for wisdom. And, it has aspects of being on the right side of the law. So, will justice be done this year? Well, if it's not done, we should be shouting out for it at the top of our lungs. As humans here on this planet, we all deserve to live a happy life. And I think that most people on this planet just want to take care of their families and live a happy life, and they don't want to kill each other. So if anybody tells you should be doing those things, point all 5 fingers at them and tell them to flip off. Okay? Because justice is the solution to our problems. And we have to demand it. Demand justice. Okay. And the outcome. All right. I like that. All right. Bast. Bast is the card for families and for the home and the hearth. And it's just what I was just talking about. We all want happy lives, and we all just want our families to live happy and to be fed and to have a warm, safe place to live and to grow and to thrive. And people, we must demand it and stand up for our rights as human beings and as earthlings. Maybe it's time we stop thinking of ourselves as Americans or Britons or Europeans or Asians or Australians, because the Atlas thing is flying behind the sun, and if another race shows up, I think we need to unite as citizens of this planet. All right? So, as an earthling, I say to you, Oíche Shamhna Shona Duit, happy Halloween, and many blessings to you and your family this year. And even though there's going to be problems, we're going to demand justice, and the outcome is going to be peace and harmony and happiness for our families. And I like that. I like that a lot. And because I keep talking about this Atlas thing, let's just look at this card and see, what is the Atlas thing? It's life force. Some people have talked about that being the spaceship for our ancestors who may or may not have seeded us on this planet, and this is the key symbol, the key to life. So maybe it's our ancestors coming back, and hopefully they will help us met out this justice that we all require this year. My husband is here making noises. He's trying quietly, but I can hear him. Okay, say happy Halloween, honey. Say it. They can't see you gesturing.
Halloween.
Give him the happy part. Happy Halloween. God.
Sure.
I'm going to point my fingers at you. And on that note of marital harmony, and on this note of love and the key to the universe, I'm going to end today. So, Oíche Shamhna Shona Duit, and thank you for being here, Incogweirdos. I love you so much, and we'll see you next time here on Terra Incogweirdo, the land where para is normal. Slango fall, you beautiful Incogweirdos. Have fun out there. Be safe and demand justice. Bye-bye.